Hello and welcome to the Guitar Masterclass. I am Seamus Jennings. I am a sophomore here at the University of Montana, and I have been a music major for a year now. And just other few facts about me. My first instrument was piano. I started taking lessons when I was about 8 years old until I was about 13. And then I also played trumpet for a while in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I picked up guitar around the age of 11 to 12, and I started mostly self-taught, and I did not take a lesson, unfortunately, until 2019. So I spent a lot of time fumbling around on the fingerboard, figuring out stuff for myself and watching YouTube videos. Anyway, today I am going to talk about a number of things. Mostly I will talk about how to fit into a big band as a guitarist. It's kind of hard out there for us. Jazz was not necessarily meant to be a guitar-centric music genre, but no doubt jazz guitar is so cool. And has a lot of really cool uses in the different parts of jazz. Today, with big band jazz, first I'd like to talk about how to craft a tone, and how to and the different things that you can do with that. Because what's cool about us guitarists compared to everybody else in the big band, at least in a traditional big band, is we're electric, and we have volume knobs and tone knobs, and we have our amp that we can adjust things on. What I generally would suggest is to have a tone that's not too sharp or trebly, and also not too much bass. You want to have a lot of mids, which are the frequencies in between the high and the low. And in order to get those, first you want to take out the lows by, hopefully you have a knob on your amp that says bass, or low end sometimes you'll see. I would suggest generally rounding it all the way off just about. It depends on the amp that you're using, but I would suggest going between 1 and 3 on the bass, on just about any amp will get you the right sound. On the other hand, with the treble on the amp, it really depends on the amp, and for this you're really just going to want to do some listening to it and sit there and mess around. But right now on my amp I have the treble right above 8. And that's on a scale of 1 to 10 on the knob. So that provides a good basis for where your guitar is going to come out sounding. The other thing that you're going to want to do is start on your guitar, and depending on what kind of guitar you're using, I am using what's known as a hollow body, an arch top. It has F-holes here, and on the inside it's completely hollow. And so what that does, and the reason it's called an arch top, by the way, some of you may know this, but it's kind of built like a violin, and this is how some of the original guitars were built. But as you can see, the strings come up to this bridge, and they hook in, and then they go over this other bridge piece, as you can see right there, and then it goes to the tuning pegs running over this, and this right here is what provides the arch. The other thing that provides the arch is the carved top. As you can see, it's not flat, perfectly flat on top. It has a bit of an arch per se. Anyway, generally in jazz, this is kind of the common type of guitar to use, just because it has acoustic qualities because of the hollow body, and it also has the electric quality of the pickups, and those combined usually provide a warmer sound that is more advantageous in jazz. However, in some cases, it depends on your preference entirely. Gotta find my stand. In some cases, you will see guitarists using a solid body like this. And there's a number of ways, if this is the kind of guitar that you have, completely solid, there's a number of ways in which you can get it to sound good for jazz. Generally, I would follow similar guidelines. And with that, I would say, so you have your volume and tone knobs. Volume, tone. And it depends on the guitar you're using. This guitar has 2 pickups, and this is the pickup selector switch. And then this volume knob goes to this pickup. This tone knob goes to this, or goes to this pickup as well. And then this volume knob down here goes to this pickup, and this tone knob goes to this pickup. Volume and tone. Volume, I'm sure everybody here knows what volume is. Tone, on the other hand, I will demonstrate. It's a sort of filter for the frequencies that your pickup is putting out. And right now I am on what's known as the bridge pickup. This is the neck pickup because it's right next to the neck. But right now the tone is all the way up at 10. And so you can hear it's very open. It's very bright and loud. Now I'll start rounding off the tone. You can already hear it's a little dimmer, a little darker, a little warmer per se. Here, I'll adjust my camera down. And I'm gonna, right now I'm down around about 4. This was 10. I'll get it with a pick. That's all the way up at 10. This is down at 4. And then this, right around 2, you'd start to really notice it. And then this is all the way off at 0. Whoops, wrong knob. So you can hear what it does there. And the cool thing about these knobs is it can help you to craft your jazz sound. And as you can hear, this bridge pickup is not generally the pickup that you would use in these circumstances because it's pretty harsh and bright. It's kind of a country sound almost, that sort of thing. But almost, if I have the tone all the way off, I can almost use it in a jazz setting. But that's more of a country kind of gypsy jazz sound. Anyway, I generally keep that pickup turned all the way off so you can't hear anything coming from it. And right there you can hear how loud this guitar is without any amplification. It's very acoustically loud because of the hollow body. Anyway, so I would recommend using your neck pickup. This is the jazz setting I have it on right now. This is what it sounds like. And you can hear it's very warm. This guitar is kind of a higher, brighter, not quite as heavy as some jazz tones. It sounds older. It's more of a 50s going into 60s jazz tone, a little more traditional. But some guitarists have what are called humbucking pickups, which is the kind of pickups that are in here. and they tend to be darker and warmer, heavier a little bit. Anyway, so I would round off your tone a little bit, and that just means taking it down from 10, and then also do the same with your volume. And I go over this in the rhythm section masterclass, but take your volume down a little bit too, because that allows the magnet that's in the pickup to not pull on the strings as much, and so it gives you a warmer, less like harsh sound, if that makes sense. This is what my pickup sounds with the volume all the way up. You can hear it's kind of bright. And if I round that volume off, it's a lot warmer. Another thing that goes along with it is playing your pick up here instead of down here. I'll play a D right there, and I'll start at the neck and go back to the bridge, and you'll see the difference. It's a lot warmer up here, and you can use that for effect on things, but when you're playing chords, you want to be up here. Alright, that's just a few tips on sculpting your tone to fit in with the big band. A few other things I want to talk about. One of the most important ones in rudimentary chord playing are called shell voicings. Now, shell voicings take the root of the chord, and then the third of the chord and the seventh, and it just simplifies chords down to the first, third, and seventh. And so, say we're playing in B flat. If we want to play a B flat 7, you got your B flat right here. You have your 7 right there. That's your A flat, and then you have your D up here. It's 3 notes, and you can play any chords on here. If you want to play a major 7, you can bring the 7th up from the A flat to the A. That's the shape for it. Dominant 7. Minor 7, you take your third from the major to the minor. And those are the major chords that you're going to be seeing in the jazz that you're playing at your level. And so that's shell voicings for the root on the low E string. So there's an A dominant 7, G minor 7, C sharp minor 7, C major 7. You have all those shapes that you can move around. Now, if you're going to be playing with the root on the A string, you're going to want to do these shapes. What you have here is first, third, seventh. So I'm playing at D, and then I'm going to play F sharp, and then I'm going to play C sharp. So that's the shape. You can play it with either finger, whichever feels more comfortable. That's the shape for the root on the A string. That's for dominant 7s. And that's for minor 7s. So just to review those shapes, on the E string, this is a major 7 shape. This is a dominant 7 shape. And this is a minor 7 shape. And then on the A string, we have this shape. major 7, dominant 7, minor 7. Okay, and then with the bit of time that I have left, I'd like to talk about strum patterns to fit in with the other comping instruments in the rhythm section. Now, I want to emphasize again how important your relationship with the other members of the rhythm section are, specifically the piano. Now, you want to listen to everybody, and you want to be buddies with everybody in your rhythm section, and you want to be making eye contact and looking at each other for cues, and you want to be listening in. Specifically, though, it's important for guitarists to listen to the piano because the pianist is going to be comping on a lot of the solos and throughout most of the pieces. And one thing that's easy to have happen, and you will see this demonstrated in the rhythm section masterclass video, is the piano and guitarist to be busy and overshadowing each other. And so to avoid this, I mean, there are many methods to avoid this. The one I'm going to talk about right now is strum patterns, set strum patterns. So generally when the piano's comping, they're going to be playing a more melodic style. So they're going to be playing their own rhythms. They're going to be complementing what a soloist might be playing by playing a rhythm and melody that's like it. And generally it's going to be freer. Now as a guitarist, your job is to listen to that and communicate with the pianist. And generally, at first, you want to establish a strum pattern that's repetitive and establishes just rhythm, much less than melody, so that the pianist can have the space to create the melody. All right, so a few strum patterns that I want to talk about. One of the most famous big band guitarists, I touch on this in the rhythm section masterclass, was a guy by the name of Freddie Green. He was the guitarist for Count Basie's big band. And Freddie Green famously played quarter notes. So if I were to play a B flat blues, that's a mouthful, it would sound something like this. And you can hear it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just downstrokes. And you want to, when you're doing this, turn down your pickup a little bit so that you can have a lot of acoustic amplification, but also a little bit of like actual electric amplification. And you're just going to want to hit your strings hard and don't have any upstroke. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Chunk, 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 as a lot of people will say. Okay. Now, another famous strum pattern is called the Charleston, and I believe that comes from the 1920s era Charleston music style, which I won't get into. But the Charleston can be played two different ways. It consists of a quarter note, an eighth rest, and then an eighth note, and then a rest for the rest of the measure. And what it sounds like, you can play the quarter note at the beginning before the eighth note, or you can switch places. And this is with the quarter note before. Okay, and then you can switch places. So this is with the eighth note before. And those are just a couple of important repetitive strum patterns that will allow you to not step on the toes of the pianist and muddy up the rhythm section, comping section. All right. So just to rehash, I want to reinforce the idea of sitting down, playing, and listening to your tone and sculpting a tone that is going to fit in to the sound of the band. The bass is already being covered by many instruments. The bass, trombones, sometimes a saxophone, and treble is also being covered by other instruments. Piano will be covering it, trumpets, and saxophones. And so you want to fit into the mid section of the frequencies, and this will allow you to best benefit the rest of the band with your sound. You also want to be wary of your volume, and when you're comping, you want to stay just under what the rest of the band is doing. You of course want to hear yourself, but you don't want to stick out. Now, strum patterns. You want to be listening and watching with the pianist. In order to avoid getting too busy with comping, you might want to try these strum patterns, the Charleston and the Freddie Green chunk chunk on the quarter note. Another thing that I didn't mention with pianists is you can take turns comping with your piano player, and you want to discuss this before, and if you get to know each other well enough, you might even be able to communicate this as you're sight reading a piece. But you can take turns on sections or take turns every 4 bars comping, and that's demonstrated in the rhythm section Masterclass video. The last thing that I talked to, or I guess the last thing that I have not touched on yet, was the shell voicings. And shell voicings are great because they boil down big chords just to firsts, thirds, and sevenths. Now, of course, there are ninths and 13s and 11s and all that crazy jazz out there. But for right now, before you get into those, you want to get the rudimentary base of 7th chords. And last but not least, I just want to say, have fun, get to know your bandmates. You know, they should be your buddies, they should be your friends. Hang out with them, listen to music with them, get to know what they like and dislike, and that will help you and the rest of them have a better time playing and sound better, quite honestly. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. I am Seamus Jennings. I'm 19. I'm a sophomore here. And this is a super cool experience. I wish I could see you guys in person. Hopefully that will happen next year. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you.